No, I didn't get a chance to watch it. But at least we know what he said he wants to do.
Right.
And we know what he has been able to do. 120 days in office for a president. It's like something almost every country they do to just say, oh, 120 days of the president, what and what has he been able to do, the promises made and all that. And these are promises during the campaign. So at all costs, efforts will be made to make sure that something is done in place. The issue is that there's promises. When we describe them as fulfilled, what do we mean by fulfilled? That for me, that is it. Is it that the mere start of it is fulfilled, or the policy has been implemented to a level where society is satisfied?
So it's the value thereof.
That you understand. So sometimes when I look at 120 days in office, and I look at what and what is said to have been done, the categorization would be, is it that everything that once it started means that it has been done? Because a lot of the things you talk about, in actual fact, the actual tests of those things are going to come later in your administration.
Right.
Because when you start it, there will be fanfare and pageantry. Because you promised to do it, you have started it. That's when everybody will be happy that it has been started.
So he's fulfilled the promise.
Yeah, but in the actual test of those policies begin to hit you along the way. And how you are able to address them becomes the test point. So sometimes, I believe that the fanfare sometimes that goes with 120 days in office or 90 days in office. I don't really take much interest in that, because I believe that a 4-year term is what is going to define what you will be able to do with your mandate. And if within the 4-year term, with the things that you took credit and fanfare for along the way becomes your albatross that you struggle to deal with, then the question will be all the fanfare at the beginning to what end? And so for me, we have to look at some of these things. For instance, if the president is fighting Galamsey today, the Galamsey fight was on before he came to power. In fact, Galamsey fight started from President Mills. His first term, he continued as John Mahama. Akufo-Addo has come. He has come. So when they say, I'm going to fight Galamsey, it's part of 120, and you have come. For me, it's just like telling me something that we already know. You understand it? The reality is that what you are doing is what you did in your first term, is what Akufo-Addo has done. It's all that everybody attempt to find Galamsey has done, and we are where we are. We are not satisfied with where we are. That is why it was one of the key reasons why the former government was kicked down. The question is the 120 days that you want to take credit for, that you are fighting Galamsey. What is the state of our water bodies? So what credit is there to take for it? Are we being told that within the 120 days of John Mahama, our water bodies are clean? So you see, for me, arrest and seizure of excavators, it is nothing new. You understand my point? So for me, I think that, yes, if you promise, it's a social contract you sign with people, you have to make sure that you fulfill it. But the beginning, starting it, to me, is not the entire fulfillment. If you are telling me that you have started the process, it's different from saying, I have fulfilled. You understand it? That's why I'm citing the Galamsey fight, for instance. So I believe that it's easy for any government to do these things in their first term, because you told people you will do it. But see, those things that you started today, it's not like it's completed. It's a process. So it's along the 4 years or your mandate that the implementation is going to be confronted with challenges, and how you are able to address them. At the end of your 4-year term, that is where voters will go to the polls and says, yes, you promised to start it, you started it. While it ended up, I'm satisfied, so I will maintain you. How it ended up, I'm totally not satisfied, so I'm voting you out. So for me, I don't really take much joy or interest in this 120 days things that we talk about, because listen, everybody in Ghana will admit that the 120 days things we are so happy about have not solved even 5% of our national problems. You understand? But we are all anxious of solving our problems. So you start the processes of doing things. It does not mean that it's an end. it's a process. So for me, if you start something that's a process, I am more interested in maybe halfway or in the middle of it, and we do an assessment of it. But this one, as I said, is something that every government does around the world, and Trump has done it, and everybody will do it. So it's just like a normal thing any government that is voted into power will do to tell the public that what I promised, I have started them. So for me, when we categorize them that fulfilled, sometimes I have a challenge with it, because I don't think that starting a process, something that's a process, and you start it and say it's fulfilled, sometimes I will just take it that it's fulfilled. So sometimes it's good. It's good that a president, and you see, it's a form of accountability, because you said it during campaign. So if you told me that 120 I'll do ABCD, or I'll start the process to do ABCD, and 120 days you are telling me what you have done. So for me, it's very important in democracy that there should always be accountability about things.
Does the language of the document matter? Because when it says I will launch, and indeed he has launched, then that means he has fulfilled the promise.
That's what I'm saying. I see. I've answered that question already. I said, look, a code of ethics has been launched today. Along the way, the implementation is where you are going to. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm saying that starting a process is one thing, and how the process pans out. Especially when it gets to places where challenges come. It's another thing. For instance, my talked about the promise of repealing and revoking LI 240. Where are we today? The bill that was sent to Parliament did not revoke it.
It was for an amendment.
They just wanted trying to do an amendment of it. That was not a promise. You understand it? So, but now he realized that though I said I will revoke it, it takes a process.
Right.
You understand? Now he's talking about the fact that having been confronted with the reality, I realized that it's not easy to revoke it immediately. And that it has to go to a certain process. That's what I'm saying, that when we focus on the process, rather than the initial step, we'll be doing a more critical analysis of what we have been able to do. Because I've started it, I want to praise me. I will praise you for starting it, but then the process. Because right now, the reason they can't revoke LI 246 is because it's clear now that people have been given legitimate licenses to operate in those forest reserves. Government has the power to say, I have revoked it. But what will be the internal consequence? The consequence will be that those people will go to court and sue the government and claim huge money in judgment because you have legally licensed them. A government is a government. It doesn't matter whether it's in power, who is in power. So if Ghana government licenses them that you can
mine in these areas,
and at the time you are making the process, you didn't pay attention to that. You say, I'll revoke it once I come to power. You understand it? And then all of a sudden, what are we see? You realize that no, if I just go ahead and do that, there will be a problem. You understand? So it has to be a process. So I am saying that when this thing happens, I am more focused on the process than rather the starting. Because when you start, it's at the beginning. How will the process pan out? Even what we have said right now, look, to achieve that is going to be difficult. Because if somebody has a license still have about 10 years to expire, your amendment of the mining law will have to take consideration of the fact that then those leases have to expire. The only thing you can do is that you will not issue new licenses for mining in forest reserves. That one, nobody can sue you for that. But if somebody has a 10 years lease that is still valid, and you go and amend the law, you cannot make a new law to take retrospective effect to affect somebody's business interest. So it meant that you now are faced with it. You understand it? So we have to clearly look at 120 days. It's good you said I will do something. But as I said, it's a campaign message. So you say I will do, because you are campaigning. You have to give people hope. But the reality of I will do is that
is the doing.
It's a start. This is what to do with the first one today. It's actually the beginning of a process. And along the way is where we will actually have the time to really judge whether that process that you started, that we credited for trying to start, how did it pan out in terms of implementation? And this is where sometimes governments set traps for themselves. Because you are now come to take credit, I have done it. And then the implementation process now gives you difficulties. And then the people say, but you said you have done this, and now here where we are even worse off than the time you said you have done it. So why did you take credit? I want to punish you. So sometimes I think that the 120-day thing, sometimes when you don't even critical look at it, you may be setting a trap for yourself.
Well.
Because as you said, the LI has become a trap for you now. Because now the realities of revoking it has made you believe that if you attempt it, you may cost the state some judgment there.
Yeah.
So now you have to find a process. The question is, let's assume that people in the forest, all of them have leases that goes beyond your 4-year term. Yeah. You will say, I've changed the law, but people will still be mining there because they have a lease. Yeah. And then when it's voting, what do you expect the voter to say? But your promise has not been fulfilled because people are still mining the forest reserve. So now you come and give excuse and say, oh, but their lease existed before I came to power. But you know that they had a lease before you were making the promise. So you see, I believe that sometimes we have to be careful with the language. Okay. We have to be careful with the language of some of these things, how we say it. You see, politicians, one thing they should take note of is that most of the times they have good intentions. But how they communicate it, sink in with the people, and the people use the very words that they used in the beginning against of those against them later. Even though sometimes you can even say what they have even done within the difficulties they tried. But they'll tell you that's not what you told us. This is the words you used. And we are using the same word. Exactly. So you understand. So I think that it is not to take credit for what he has promised to. But I am saying that let's use the word start rather than have fulfilled. Because most of the things that you are supposed to do, they are not fulfillment. You understand it? They are a start of a process until it is fully completed. Then you say, I have done. So I am looking at these things more of how we the language, how we communicate these things so that the public do not turn around tomorrow and come and repeat your own words to you. We're in an age where now everything you say, the internet never forgets. Tomorrow you go and say somebody will come and play back to you about what you said on that day. This is not what you are now telling us. And then they accuse you of excuse to say maybe deceit. But probably you are not deceiving them. It's only maybe the choice of words. So for me, I think that 120 days is a general thing any government in the world will do. But let's always give people, let's manage the expectations. That's the way. Manage the expectations by the kind of words and how we describe some of these things. Because along the process, you may, is it President Mahama suffered this thing where he said he will put his presidency on the line. Today, people still use that word that he said he'll put his presidency on the line. Still, Galam say is there. So what did he do? We should even have impeached him. You understand it? Because he's the one who said I'll put my, but the intention of saying I'll put my presidency on the line does not mean that the Galam say does not end immediately I'm resigning. Probably his intention is that I'll do everything possible within my power to be able to fight this. But you didn't say it that way. You said I'll put my presidency on the line. So that is what we'll repeat to you.
Elvis,
and I think that as we are growing as a democracy, as a people, we should find the importance of communication and how we manage people's expectations with the words that we use.
Thank you.